Good morning, everybody. I had a question for you here this morning. Did you hear the one about Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn's co-founder, walking into a bar and meeting Austin Powers? I didn't either. I made it up. I see my camera is going a little wonky. Welcome to the world of technology. But I made this story up because it was anecdotal to some of the stuff I want to talk about here today. And when they walked into this bar, they met David Bowie. David was sitting there singing Changes. All these things here I'm trying to get across. A client of mine called me up after doing them and said, Barry, are you worried just you're giving stuff away for free? I said, no, I'm worried. I can't make enough of an impression on everybody. That's the truth. Um, the world has changed. And I wanted to review this book for you to start this whole thing off last week, to explain, not to sell copies of my book, but to really dig deeper into asking you to consider how you view yourself in this new world, in this new economy. Reid's book, which was written, I want to say, in 2012, it's called The Startup of You. And basically, the book, how was it described here? It was described as startup entrepreneurs are nimble. They invest in themselves. They build their professional networks. They take intelligent risks. They make uncertainty and volatility work to their advantage. These are the very same skills professionals need to get ahead today. It goes on to say this isn't a book about cover letters or resumes. Instead, you'll learn the best practices of the most successful startups and how to apply these entrepreneurial strategies to your career. Whether you work for a giant multinational corporation, stitch together multiple gigs in a portfolio career, or launching your own venture, you need how to do some of the things. Adapt your career plans, develop a competitive advantage, strengthen your professional network. This book is not about how to write a resume. In fact, I think resumes it's a 12-chapter book. I want to say chapter 11 is resume. Can't remember anymore, but way back in the book. It's not about how to write a resume. It's not about how to write cover letters. I get to it, but it's much later. This is a book, and what I wanted you to talk about, or what I wanted to talk about to you, is this is a book about adapting to the changes that Reid Hoffman talks about, that David Bowie sang about back in 1971. I brought in Austin Powers because one of my favorite lines in that movie, or his first movie, is he's at a blackjack table, and Robert Wagner is a spy on the other side. He's got a patch over his eye, handsome guy as he was, and he introduces himself. And Austin has to introduce himself, and he's one of my favorite lines. He says, "Allow myself to introduce myself." And he goes on to say something like, "I'm Richie Cunningham, and this is my wife, Oprah." What does this have to do with any of this? I'm asking you, through your journaling, through your introspection, through a lot of the stuff that's in here, or in these podcasts, whatever we're calling these Facebook lives, is to take the time today to introduce yourself to yourself and really understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. Once again, the clock ticks for all of us. The changes are upon us in the world, and they're not going to slow down. Um, if you're waiting for things to slow down, you're going to be waiting a long time. So now it's up to you. Dr. Covey talks about there's three constants in the world: change, choice, and principles. So much of what I want to try to get across to you is to have your principles, understand what they are, journal, and get familiar with yourself. All the journaling prompts that I'll share after these videos are basically there, again, to ask yourself some questions. I don't care what you want to be when you grow up. It's none of my business. I just want you to. There's a gentleman named Ray DeLeo who has a great book called Principles. I saw a podcast with him. If I remember, I'll paste a link to it in the notes. But he's talking to Bill Belichick, and he says, "Bill, what are your principles? What are your principles to win?" And Bill talks about them. That's what these things are all about. If I don't get them across to you, I am worried about it, but not for giving anything away. I'm worried that I'm not doing a good enough job of trying to help anybody who comes on these things to just be personally introspective, to adapt yourself to the world as it is today. One of my models is when I've done these things, and I've done them over the years, is educate, entertain, and inspire. I don't know if I'm entertaining. I'm trying. I'm trying to take these stories and examples and movie lines and song lyrics and whatnot, and use them to anecdotally explain some of the stuff we're here to talk about. If it inspires you, I'm flattered. If it entertains you, I'm flattered. But I really hope it's somewhat educational. So that's it. I see my camera keeps going on and off. I wish I did understand why that was the case. So it's probably a good time to hop off and say, I hope this helps. Do your journaling. I talk one more time about, do you spend your time or do you invest your time? Successful companies, the startup of you would invest your time, invest it wisely. So that's it. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe, and we will catch you next time. Live at 11. Thanks for putting up with all the technical difficulties. I hate technology, but it's useful. Be well.